Two phablets battle it out, Trojan horses roll into Android, and a Facebook event impressed everyone. Or left everyone disappointed, we're not sure. All that and more in the hour ahead on the Pocketnow Weekly, the once-a-week podcast from Pocketnow, where we discuss smartphones, tablets, and the state of mobile technology. I'm Michael Fisher, editorial director at Pocketnow, and I'm joined today by Joe Levi, the Android guy. Good morning to you in Utah, sir.
Good morning to you and everyone else who's tuning in from wherever they are in the world.
Yes, including, but not limited to, Super Carolina, because we are also joined by our resident Carolinian, Taylor Martin. Good morning to you.
Good morning. Good morning.
I understand that you are a very recent addition to the waking world.
Yeah.
You and I are both groggy. I think Joe is groggy-headed, too, on account of in Utah it's like 2 a.m. over there or something.
It is. It's 2 a.m. Hawaii time, I think.
Okay.
No, it's 7 in the morning here.
Oh, that reminds me. When I was getting hired at Nextel, the training officer, like in charge of training us, was demoing push-to-talk. This is 2004 when push-to-talk was still like becoming a consumer thing. And he was like, watch this. It's nationwide push-to-talk. And we're in Virginia. And it's like 9 a.m. and it's training session. And he chirps his friend. And like 2 seconds later, or no, it was like 10 seconds later, his friend's like, beep, what, man? And he's like, oh, man, I'm sorry, did I wake you up? He's like, yeah, I'm sorry, go back to bed. And we're like, what just happened there? And he's like, oh, my friend lives in Hawaii.
Oh, gee.
So, yeah, time differences are fun. What I said about the Facebook event in that intro is entirely true. We're recording this episode at a stupid time slot, and that's my fault. We normally do record in the morning. Usually it's Thursday morning, and that's what it is right now. But normally there is not an event of newsworthy notableness in the afternoon, and that's what's happening today. So we have no idea what the Facebook event, how disappointing it was or wasn't. We have a pretty good idea of what's going to happen at it. But by the time this podcast goes up, the world will know, and we're already behind the curve, gents. But shall we talk?
Unless we speculate, and then we're ahead.
That's what I want to do. I want to speculate a little bit, because we seem to have been presented with a whole lot of leaks and information that has found its way through the cracks to the public, to the common world. This event, it seems at the very least poised to deliver us a new Facebook app, one that is deeply integrated with a phone. And specifically speaking, it looks like that phone might be, or is very likely to be, the HTC First, which, frankly, I didn't bother looking up until I had to prepare for this podcast because I knew it wasn't going to be a terribly impressive phone, and we're looking at kind of a mid-range Snapdragon S4 device coming in different colors. But I think the real story here is the software. So do either of you guys feel exceedingly passionate about this device one way or the other? I mean, and by this device, I mean this new Facebook integration.
First of all, what is Facebook? I'm not very clear on that.
Oh, dude, it's like a mashup between Twitter and Google+,
yeah.
But it's like with a bunch of people that you went to elementary school with that you don't care about.
Right.
Oh.
Very similar to Friendster.com.
And MyFace, whatever that one was.
Whatever that other one. Yeah. Did you see that Mark Zuckerberg's very first website was probably uncovered?
I did.
Yeah, it's like an Angel Fire page, Joe. Oh God, it's amazing. It's got some sweet animated GIF action on it.
Yeah.
So it was a step up from GeoCities, then, right?
Yeah, definitely. But what about this? Like, I think the real story here is the software, right? This kind of Facebook. It looks like a custom HTC Sense skin that doesn't look all that great. I don't know.
It's like the HTC Salsa 2013.
Yeah.
So there's not really a lot for us to get excited, for our kind to get excited, but there are a ton of people out there who obsess over Facebook, and unfortunately I'm friends with a lot of those on Facebook, and they would eat this up. They would eat it alive.
Now, by our kind, you mean the cool kids, right?
I'm talking about the people who obsess over specifications, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I don't. I mean, we know that I don't care about specs very much, and I really glaze over when we start talking chipsets and stuff like that. So, but even so, I feel like HTC should have learned its lesson from the Cha-Cha / Salsa / Status.
Slash Cha-Cha-Cha.
Oh, yes, right. Oh, wait, the Cha-Cha-Cha was the big one with no keyboard, right?
I don't remember anymore.
Yeah, there were two. There was like the Cha-Cha. Well, anyway. And I stuck up for the Cha-Cha. Actually, I wrote an article sticking up for the Cha-Cha, and that's what got me hired at Pocketnow over a year ago.
That article got you hired?
Well, that article got Tony to call me, at least.
You should be proud.
Thanks. I got to ask Tony if he remembers that. I appreciated you taking a position that was ridiculous. But so I feel like HTC probably should have learned its lesson from that device, which was mid-range, and which I appreciated because it was different. And I admire when a company is brave enough to do something different, but which didn't really impress anyone in terms of how well it did anything, because I don't think it really did anything too well except have a Facebook button. That was the cool part about it. It had a power button. Right?
That's all they had to do. And in fact, on this one, all they've got to do is the Facebook Today screen. That's all they've got to get right. Everything else, who cares? It's the Facebook Today.
Right.
Yeah.
And at the risk of bringing up a point that we've brought up and a billion other people have brought up before, don't we all already have a Facebook phone, guys? Like the app integration, the app itself and the integration with the OS, particularly on Android and iOS now, is such that. And on Windows Phone, you got the People Hub. I mean, like, you have a bevy of options already for a Facebook phone. Why would anyone want to buy a Facebook phone if they researched it any more than just watching a commercial?
Because it's totally rad, yo.
Is that it?
Yeah. Or baby powder blue.
Right.
But no, I wrote an article about the Cha-Cha and Salsa. It was a one-word article. Should anyone buy the Cha-Cha or Salsa? The answer, the whole entire body of the article, no. One word, no.
Was that
Too long.
Was that a phone dog?
No, I didn't do it. I joked about it, but I never got to. I always wanted to do that. Just a one-word post. No.
In like 50-point, nice curly letters.
Yeah, some serif.
Yeah, and no pictures of the devices. A picture of me looking discontent.
With your hands up in the air like, why would anyone do this?
Yes.
Okay, so to answer your question, Michael, I'm looking at this on my Nexus 4 right now, which, by the way, is now screen protectorless on the front because it got like big lint ball underneath it, so I don't know how to clean it.
Joe, we saw what happened last time you did that.
I've got something new to show you that's in the mail, so no spoiler alerts there, but it's bright yellow.
Ooh.
So, yeah, little HTC Nokia action there. So anyway, I'm looking at my Nexus 4.
Wait.
I've got my Facebook plugin, and I just added, there are exactly 2 widgets that I can put on my screen. One of them is the status, which lets me post what's on my mind, and a button that lets me scroll through the latest couple of bazillions of posts that I have in my wall, and then another widget that lets me put a pencil in a square, or take a picture, or poke myself in the eye. I think that's a map check-in thing. I don't know.
Yeah, probably.
But that's it. That's all I have. So as far as saying, we've already got a Facebook phone, yeah, but the widgets, at least on Android, are crap.
Yeah,
they can do so much more.
Yeah, the widgets are bad.
The applications themselves aren't that great. I mean,
No.
I constantly deal with, not being able to load new notifications or even load a new feed or anything like that. So that's iOS and Android, and if I'm correct, they both have gone native, right? They're not HTML5 anymore.
Yeah.
The Android version, I know for sure, is no longer HTML5.
Right.
And
So I'm pretty sure they went native, but they didn't. They still have not even made an Android tablet application.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that kills me. Why? I don't even like Facebook, and it makes me so mad.
My thing is this. Like, I don't want to talk about this too much because by the time this posts, like I said, this is all going to be old news. But I think that the best thing that happened on the hardware side with this was the hardware button, and not just because it was one tap to jump into Facebook. It was you could long press it and check in somewhere. It would glow context sensitively, depending on whether if you had a photo on the screen, the button would glow, and it's like, I will share that to Facebook. I think that was impressive. That was cool. I hope we see something like that on this HTC first. I don't think we will. But we're really going to have to talk about it next week because we just can't. We have the information we have, which is less information than any listener has at this point. So sorry for the scheduling snafu. I emailed Joe at 1 a.m. last night. I was like, "You still awake?" And if Joe had answered, I would have been like, "We have to record this in the afternoon." But Joe needed his rest, so and I don't blame you one bit.
Oh, my day. Well, let me back up. My wife's day, and my wife is my life, starts at 4:30. So bedtime for us is 8:30 or 9. Last night we stayed up real late to like 9:15.
You rogue. Well, cool. So anyway, we'll talk about this next week. I want to just touch really quickly on a cool road trip I took yesterday. While we're speaking about hardware to a certain extent, I got to take a tour of the facility where Sapphire is made, artificial man-made sapphire, which is relevant to smartphones in that you can make smartphone screens out of it that are as harder than any material except diamond, which is awesome.
Yes.
So unless you're toting around a pocket full of diamonds, and really, who doesn't on a Friday, you are going to do well. You're not going to have a scratched up smartphone screen. It was so cool to see how they build this stuff. This was, if you haven't seen the video, you should watch it. The tour was given to us by Jeff Nestle Pat, the internet's most liked guy on a Pocketnow video. Did you guys catch those comments as they were coming up when that video posted from MWC?
No.
I missed that.
Well, Jeff's giving us the demo at MWC, and he's like using concrete from the parking lot in Barcelona to scratch up the screen. And then, like in the YouTube comments, like inexplicably, like 20 to 30 people on YouTube. It felt like maybe it was less, maybe it was like 10 or 15 people. In YouTube, the pit of comment despair, the place where everyone goes to be hurtful and mean. Like 10 or 15 people roll up and they're like, "Jeff seems like a cool guy. I like Jeff." I was like, I agree. He was a cool guy to talk to, but it was just so amazing to watch the internet just embrace Jeff of GT Advanced Technologies. Anyway, he gave us a tour yesterday, and it was just awesome to see all this high technology science building Sapphire displays. And I want to know from you guys, Joe. See, Joe, this is a technology that wouldn't help Joe, and this is asked in the comments a lot because even though it is less scratchable, it is more brittle because it's harder. It's a harder substance. So the Sapphire will likely not be any more resistant to shattering than Gorilla Glass, and it might even be less resistant to shattering. So I guess that's my question. Really quickly for you guys, Joe first. I get no Taylor first because we know Joe's position on this. What's more important to you, shatter resistance or scratch resistance in a smartphone screen?
Shatter resistance.
Really?
Yeah.
It sounds like a man who's shattered a screen before.
I have not. I've actually never broken a phone, shattered the display ever.
Really?
Yep. I had dropped my Galaxy Note 2. I may or may not have had a couple of drinks, and I was in a bathroom at a bar, and I just went to use the bathroom, and somehow my phones defy the laws of physics. My phone shot out of my pocket. I have no clue. Anyway, it flies across the bathroom and hits the floor, and just everything goes in opposite directions. It was the Note 2, so battery door one way, battery the other way, and the phone another way.
Did the S Pen pop out, or did that stay snugly?
No, it stayed in.
Good.
My battery door wouldn't fit back on, but everything else was perfect. No scratches, nothing. So
really,
yeah.
Wow, you are lucky.
Yeah, but I feel shatter resistance. You can use a phone if it's scratched. You cannot really use a phone too well if it's shattered.
True.
Glass shards in your thumb.
Yeah,
or the digitizer doesn't work anymore.
Or the digitizer doesn't work anymore. I mean, there are a lot of things that can happen with a shattered display. Something that's scratched, it's going to look ugly, but you can prevent that. So if you have shatter protection, you can get a screen protector for scratch protection. But the thing is, like on my Note 2 or even my HTC One X or even the Nexus 4, none of them have scratches. So I don't use screen protectors, but I don't have any scratches on any of them. So at least on the display.
No, I don't use screen protectors either. My only major display casualty has been my Galaxy Nexus on Verizon, where it was in my pocket, and one of the steel buttons that closed my cargo pocket, like, I must have sat on the phone wrong, and the button just went right through the screen.
Ooh,
yeah,
ow.
It was a big old thumbprint shatter. But Joe destroyed his phone.
Yeah.
And so what does that make you feel about shatter resistance versus scratch resistance?
First, it makes me feel sad. Mm-hmm. But once I get past that, I'm going to go a route that you wouldn't imagine that I'd go. I'm going to agree. We need to have shatter resistance. I think that can be accomplished many different ways, but scratch protection can be done by very inexpensive, very nice, high-performance screen protectors. The one that I just took off my device due to an adhesive failure is what they use in the military to put on the leading edges of helicopters.
Yes, I know.
So
that
they're
company.
put through a whole bunch of abuse. And if I do end up getting a scratch on it, warranty notwithstanding, I take it off and I put another $10, $20 piece of plastic on it, and I'm back and I'm fine. A side effect of that particular one was also fingerprint resistance, which now that it is off and I'm using a bare screen, I have to keep wiping down the screen to get all the fingerprints off.
But that Nexus 4 screen is so smooth.
It is. It's ridiculously smooth. And now that I have that screen protector on the back to make it not as slippery, I hold it a lot better. But we talked about this on the last Pocketnow Live that I was on a little bit regarding removable batteries and how they might help with keeping screens from shattering and phones from just committing ritual suicide. By having that removable battery with the door that just pops off, when you drop
the energy.
You're dissipating all that energy across the floor sometimes, but it's not all trapped inside the device and finding the weakest point to escape through, which happens to be your ridiculously brittle, though ridiculously scratch-proof front screen or back screen.
Do you know what we have to do? You've given me an idea, Joe. Like all that energy banging around inside a phone as it falls to the ground would probably visually be very compelling if you could capture it. We need to get a $100,000 high-speed camera and just start doing like the best drop tests you've ever seen on phones at like 10,000 frames a second. I think that would be amazing.
See how much the body warps.
Exactly. Yeah.
So the funny thing,
Watch
when I
Gorilla
drop mine,
Glass, warp like ripples on water before it shatters. That would be amazing.
I bet it does. That'd be so cool.
Oh, it would be awesome. I love science.
By the way, you want to put the requisition with Tony?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and buy it, and I'll expense it. I'm sure they'll understand.
Ask for forgiveness now.
Yeah. Guys, I'm sorry, we have some breaking news. This is going to affect every single one of our listeners to his core. The LG Optimus G just got a Jelly Bean update on AT&T. Woo!
And you check your email slow.
Shut up, Taylor.
Which flavor of jelly bean?
Android 4.1.
Oh,
so yeah, because they got to do that. Yeah, they got to do that Optimus G scan on it. But the Optimus G needed it because, a lot of devices still need the ICS update to Jelly Bean, but the Optimus G is actually kind of a beautiful device, and it was a shame that it wasn't running Jelly Bean yet. So
that's the Nexus 4 LG, right?
Sort of, yeah. Except I like it better.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway,
blasphemy.
Yeah, I know, right? We can get into a whole conversation about that. Before we get...
That's the Nexus 4 LTE.
Yes, right. It's the Nexus 4 that should have been. Let's jump in, please, to Windows Phone very quickly, because there's not much there, and we want to talk about Android, and I want to get
You mean topics, not Windows Phone in general, right?
Let's jump right into Windows Phone. Everybody get your live tile suits on. Joe, I haven't been able to pay attention to anything in this podcast since you mentioned that you're receiving some secret package in the mail that's bright yellow. Are you getting... Is it a secret? What's going on?
It's a secret for me.
Can you reveal it on the podcast? Can you share it with our listeners? Do you hear the roar? Listen to the roar. The whole
I'm going to do a disservice because I don't remember the names.
What are you getting? What is it? A phone?
No, Taylor, you've got the Kevlar back to your Nexus 4, right?
Yeah.
I looked those dudes up, and I am getting the bright yellow leather that.
Nice. Wow.
I figured, hey, it's bright yellow, which I kind of dig from HTC Nokia stuff, and it's leather, which it's got to be grippy. So I'm going to take off my invisible shield from the back of my Nexus 4 when that gets here, and I'm going to put on bright yellow leather.
Whoa.
And it will be gorgeous, and people will make fun of me.
I cannot wait until you go on the Pocketnow Live with that. I want to see it. Speaking of, go ahead, Taylor.
Oh, no, I was going to say I've got the leather from them, too. It's not terribly grippy, but it's definitely more grippy than the glass.
Is it more grippy than an invisible shield?
That I don't know.
That's
a tough comparison to make.
Coming on.
We were talking, I was at the Microsoft store the other day to pick something up, which I will discuss in a second. And I brought my friend over to the phones, and I was like, hey, have you seen the HTC, have you seen the Windows Phone 8X? And he's like, yeah, of course I've seen the 8X. And I'm like, no, not this one. Because at the far left extreme position of the Microsoft Store Windows Phone display, they have an HTC Windows Phone 8X that is the awesome highlighter yellow.
Yes.
And
wow.
If you've never seen it with your own eyes, like I don't ever want to shoot a video of this phone because it'll never read on camera. Like in person, it actually hurts to look at. Like it's, and I'm not saying like it hurts to look at and like, oh, it's so ugly. No, like it your eyeball doesn't really know what to do with that with that color.
Yeah, well, all of the colors, even the blues, they're just so vibrant. They've got some other je ne sais quoi.
Yeah. Oof. Joe Levi, bringing French to the podcast in episode 38.
Yeah, that's about half the French that I know right there. So,
well, it's 100% of the French that I know. You remember that? Anyway, no, we can't talk about French. Anyway, that's what I thought you were getting. I thought you were getting a Windows Phone 8X in highlighter yellow, and I was going to be so amped. But we tried to change theme colors on it. I was like, Chris, do you think that there's any Windows Phone theme color besides the neon yellow that'll work on this? And we cycled through about 5 of them, and nothing works. If you buy that phone, you have to use it with the yellow theme. So
yeah, I got to see it in Las Vegas at CES. I was at an HTC dinner, and they broke out this suitcase. It was a super secret suitcase with like I think I showed you the picture of this, Michael.
Did? Yeah.
There were like 30 HTC phones in the suitcase.
Yeah.
And all just super bright colors. I wish I had my like real camera with me and I would have taken some nice pictures, but yeah, it was like, oh my gosh. Just it was a blinding box. That's what it was. It was dangerous.
And on the other side of it, they had all these Rolexes. And
yeah, and they had just a bunch of free cash in there and some guns too. That's how HTC rolls to trade shows.
Well, it is Las Vegas, so.
I want to get myself an HTC 8X, and I have for a long time, but I'm not going to, and I hope they make a sequel that has better buttons. Moving on to the Nokia Lumia family, and maybe a little thinner. I like
No. Keep the thickness. We need some bulk. We need somebody out there to say, you don't need to be anorexic to be a good-looking cell phone.
That's exactly right. To say enough is enough. It's okay.
No, that thing is surprisingly thin. I didn't even like the way it felt in my hand when I picked it up the first time. Just because it's so thin. Yeah, it's so thin and small.
Thin on the edges, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think that the sequel to the HTC Windows Phone 8X, because despite their disappointing sales, you know they're going to make another round of Windows phones considering their relationship with Microsoft. Do you think the next round of Windows Phone 8X type HTC devices will have an ultra-pixel camera, gents?
I bet if it does, it'll have a higher megapixel count.
Yeah, it's got to come
on
up.
that. Yeah,
but it's interesting. They say megapixels don't matter, and then the backlash has been that hey, it doesn't have enough megapixels. So, they don't matter to an extent, and then to a different extent, they do matter.
So I've been using the one with new camera software, so I've been taking shots kind of left and right, and very soon there will be a comparison video posted, and by very soon I mean somewhat soon. There will be a comparison video posted detailing some of these new shots, and we're gonna talk more. That conversation's not over because the software update has done something nice to it. But anyway, whatever. The one got so much attention. We're just not going to give it any more on this podcast. Actually, we are later on, but
we're not going to give it any more until later.
Let's talk right now, just quickly about this phone that's probably fake. It's a Nokia Lumia 950, is the rumor. Before we came on the air, I tried to look for updates on this. Taylor, has this been confirmed fake yet or what?
I don't know, but it just does not look like Nokia design whatsoever. The Nokia logo on the top looks photoshopped. It looks like it's not.
It's askew.
Oh, yeah, it's not even centered, is it?
It doesn't look centered, and it doesn't look, I guess, parallel to the top of the display.
Yeah, that's what I meant by askew.
Oh.
Just as easily as they photoshopped Lumia 950 on the front, they plopped that Nokia logo on there.
So this is a device, if you're not looking at it, listeners, that whatever, it's a rectangular smartphone, blah, blah, blah. I guess the most distinctive feature about it is this kind of square Windows Phone button on the bottom below what appears to be a somewhat undersized display. It's one of the uglier leaked photos I've seen. I think it's probably a 3D model photographed from a monitor or something. I don't know. It looks fake. I think it's bogus. There are rumors. Yeah. We're just basically all waiting for the fake confirmation on this, right?
Now, why do you think the display is small? Why do you not think those buttons are extremely large?
You think? Why do I not think I'm looking at a Windows Phone phablet from Nokia? Yeah, this is their tablet. This is their first Windows tablet.
It's the Nokia 7.
Now,
that button would be the size of a coaster.
I will gladly do a Windows Phone challenge when they come out with a phablet.
Yeah.
I will.
Do you think it's going to be Windows Phone, or do you think we're going to go with Surface?
What, RT on there?
Yeah.
That would be rough.
Or Windows 8 Pro, even.
Oh, gosh. No, I wrote an article about this. It does not belong on phones.
That's what I'm alluding to. You've got such similarity in user interface, but such disparity in everything else.
User experience?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a hodgepodge jumble of chaos.
So I got so fed up with dealing with Windows RT, and not because, I feel like when we complain about Windows RT, people immediately assume that maybe there are some performance issues or things like that. No, it runs very smoothly, but it is less capable once you get into the older Windows environment. So I got so fed up with it that I had the opportunity to secure an HP Envy X2 for myself, and I did just that. That's why I was at the Microsoft store. I was picking it up. And so I now am a proud owner of an HP Envy X2, which this was like 2 days ago, and I've been so busy that I haven't even been able to take it out of the box. I tried to Vine my unboxing last night on Twitter, but I didn't have an iOS device, so I couldn't Vine it. I was like, come on. But I'm going to have some more thoughts about Windows 8 Pro on an Atom-powered device soon. I don't know if I'm going to write about it. I might just talk about it on the podcast, but in any case, the Windows 8 and Windows RT comparisons are not over at all. Joe, you're still so fed up with Windows 8 as before the podcast, you were trying to figure out some Skype settings, right?
Yeah. There's two ways to do everything in Windows 8 Pro. I mean, and you never know which way is the right way or which way isn't. You've got to update things in two places. They're very different, but sometimes they're the same. Most of the time they're not.
I plugged in a hard drive to I had Windows 8 running through Parallels on my MacBook, and I needed to find out how to clear the defaults because I accidentally told it to load to Windows 8 by default. So every time I plugged it in,
oh no,
it would try to search for Windows 8, and oh my gosh, it was awful. I almost wiped my computer or wiped Parallels and reloaded Windows just to clear the default. It was that bad. I searched for 3 or 4 hours trying to figure out how to do that. I could do it in 2 seconds on Windows 7, but Windows 8 it took me forever.
Two things.
It was awful.
First of all, I understand your pain about a dual boot, about a boot default problem, because the same thing happens on my touchpad. Ever since I put Android on my touchpad, it defaults to loading Android when it boots. I don't take out my touchpad so I can have an Android tablet. I use my touchpad to use WebOS, so that's annoying. I haven't figured out how to fix that. I'm sure it's a very easy fix. But the second thing is, I also run into the problems that you, Joe, and you, Taylor, have experienced with Windows RT and Windows 8. And I feel badly about it sometimes because I do get, I will say this, I do get more wrong on a first pass on Windows Phone or Windows RT or Windows 8 than I do on an Android device. Because sometimes it's because I'm rushing and then I have to go back and correct it. But more often, it's because while I find the Windows design language beautiful, and while I find the UI compelling and good looking, and while it feels good, it's not terribly intuitive, is it?
It's counterintuitive. If you don't know how it works, there's no way for you to figure out how it works other than by stumbling on something by mistake.
Right.
Yes. And that's where skeuomorphism comes into play, and we don't need that either. So,
yeah.
But we need something that's kind of halfway between the two, maybe. You got to have hints on what something is and how to do something. But to mirror your rant there, Michael, when I take Windows 8 off of this, not if, but when I take Windows 8 off of this computer, I am so tempted to go to Ubuntu rather than try and dig up one of my licenses for Windows 7.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's how bad Windows 8 is.
Yeah,
I'm willing to go to Ubuntu, and I'll learn that, because I got to learn this, so I may as well learn something new. But anyway, this isn't a bash on Windows 8 podcast. This is Pocketnow. So
if you're moving to China, then that'll help you too, right?
yes, that was awesome news. Kind of scary, but awesome.
What is the news?
Ubuntu is the official operating system of China, correct?
Wow. Okay.
That is correct. And I think TI Basic is the official operating system of North Korea? I don't know.
Super Korea.
Super Korea.
Super Korea.
So all this is to say that HTC is going to bring a Windows 8 tablet this year, and I am not sure whether to be excited about it or not. I'm excited to maybe... I'm very excited about it in the sense that I'm sure it will be beautiful hardware if it happens. And I hope that Windows Blue makes Windows 8 a little bit more usable.
Blue?
Yes,
Uh-oh.
a little more blue. Well, also, everything should be a little more blue. I watched Enterprise for too long not to wish for that. Yeah.
Our own Adam Line, he never lets us forget when HTC made Windows tablets before.
Yeah.
Every time any mention of Windows tablet and HTC are mentioned in the same article,
Well,
he's
you know
there
what?
to remind us of
Yeah.
the HTC Shift. And I love that thing. When I was in high school, I wanted the HTC Shift so bad. So bad.
Wait,
That
I
thing
need
was
to look
so
this
sweet
up.
looking.
What the hell was the HTC Shift?
It was like I don't know what size, maybe 7 or
Oh.
8 inch tablet that ran Windows.
And it has a pop-up
slide-out
screen
keyboard.
like the Tilt, though. So
yeah.
like you
so
pop
it was like a
up-
big
look at this
smartphone, like
thing.
a really big slide-out keyboard on it. Yeah, that thing was awesome.
Did Pocketnow review it? Do we know?
I don't know.
if Adam's talking about it, we probably did. Pocketnow HTC Shift. How to run OS 10 on the HTC Shift. Pocketnow 2010.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
Are you kidding me? Oh, this is awesome. That's a Brandon article from 2010.
It's an HTC. You can do pretty much anything with it. I mean, these are the same people that brought us the HT2.
Wow. Yeah.
So-
Yeah. Not to mention the HTC Arrive, but that's not the one I'm thinking of. The Touch Pro 2 with the fold out. HTC loves doing this pop-up screen when it does the side-sliding QWERTYs. And when I was a college
smart.
kid, I was really amped on that. Yeah, I was like, wow, I could put this on, like, the desk in front of me and, like, not type like it's a computer, but at least hide my IM conversations from the professor. I really wanted one of those, but they were like $600 on contract. Anyway, let's move on.
That was really
stuff.
quickly. That was my friend. He passed away, but that was his favorite thing about any smartphone ever was
What?
that tilting screen.
Really?
Like we would get in these heated debates over, my phone's better. We were, like 16, 17. And and he'd just pull his out and he'd flip his screen up, and I'm just like, yeah, whatever.
Moving parts trump everything. That's why I will still. If you have a flip phone with a button with a push to flip button, you win. It doesn't matter what it's running. I don't care. It's awesome. Let's talk about Android, please, because we need to move away from Windows Phone for the moment so we can get more done. Taylor compared two phablets on video. The LG Optimus G Pro, which we saw at MWC, and the Samsung Galaxy Note 2, the entrenched incumbent, my new favorite compound word of the week. Very curious. I watched the video just before we came on the air. Taylor I will say this, I feel like Taylor took took a page from the Michael Fisher School book of being too generous, because I always do that. I frequently will go back and watch my reviews or whatever like that, and I'm like, wow, you could have docked this another 0.5 and it would have been a lot more accurate. But Taylor was very, very fair to the Optimus G Pro, and I guess that's why it's good that you were in charge of this. So yeah, I am momentarily distracted. I've received a text message about our bandwidth. So, sorry. Like we run the podcast, and I'm like, oh, this is great. This is rich sound and stuff. And then all of a sudden, we have a bandwidth constraint. But the point is, what the hell is I talking about? Oh, the point is, Taylor, you were very generous to the Optimus G Pro. I don't think you were wrong, but I want to hear your thoughts on this, in general, how well it holds up against the Galaxy Note 2.
A 10-minute video doesn't do it justice. And having the phone for 4 or 5 hours before I start writing the script, it doesn't give me the time to really, get into the meat of it. This is basically a comparison of just, almost like first impressions, how this stacks up.
Yes.
And at first, it's sitting in the box and I pull it out and I'm like, ooh. Like that's all I can think. It's hard to imagine a device that feels lighter, cheaper, and made more poorly than, a Samsung device. It's not that they're made poorly, but they're made of pretty cheap materials. And it's hard to imagine something that could be made more cheaply. And the only way to imagine something like that is getting a phone like one of those ZTE Huawei prepaid phones.
Right.
And that's kind of how this thing feels in the hand. And at first, it's really off-putting. It's really nasty. Because it's all plastic and it's about 10 grams lighter than the Note 2.
And you have the white one, yeah?
Yeah.
And it's lighter than the Note 2, and this is the one with the battery door, which I described at MWC as looking like a tile bathroom floor in a budget hotel.
Yeah. And it's got the same plastic fake metal trim. It's basically a Note 2 LG style. And the thing is that they didn't do it like Optimus G. They did it like their older, like the G2X, like that style.
Like the L9 or something like that.
Yeah, like a cheap plastic remake. And I don't know. It's hard to not like it because they did such a good job on everything else. But it's also hard to look past that.
Can I talk I'm sorry, Taylor, before you go on about that, I don't want to lose this thread because this is important. You mentioned that you had the device for, what did you say, like 5 hours before you wrote the script?
Yeah, if that.
Yeah. So when we do comparisons, I want to make this clear. When we do a review, we're actually getting much more in-depth than that. The comparison videos generally come first, and when they do come first, when we are time constrained, when we do want to get a comparison video out more quickly than usual, listeners, what we will do is if we don't have information on how a device compares, say, in terms of battery life, you won't see it in the review. We'll compare specs, we'll compare milliamp hours. Basically, we'll compare everything that we are able to compare with the time that we've spent already, and then we'll follow up with other stuff in the review. So I just want to make it clear we're not just throwing stuff out willy-nilly because, after a couple hours with the device. We ain't doing no early Galaxy S4 review or nothing like that.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
No, you probably need to ask me like specific questions because I could go on all day. I'm
what do you think, Joe?
Fluff dog, or I don't know what I am now.
What?
You don't remember that? One of my nicknames?
Oh, that's right. Yes.
I just talk and talk, right? All right. I'm
Joe, what do you want to know, Joe?
I just want to know when I'm going to get my hands on it. I want one.
Yeah?
Yeah. I like the Note 2. I've seen the Note 2. The Note 2 is a big Galaxy S3. I really want to see the LG.
The Note 2 is not a big Galaxy S3.
It pretty much is.
All right. Physically, yes, it is. Not in terms of software, and not in terms of the S Pen. I mean,
well, in software, it is now.
Oh, what? Because updates, of multi-screen on the S3 now?
Yeah, they added pretty much all the software that the Note 2 has, except for the S Pen stuff, like the double tap for S Note and long press with the S Pen for a screenshot.
So let me revise that just to make you happy, Michael. It's just a big Galaxy S3 with an S Pen.
There you go.
All right,
and a huge battery, and all right. I got you.
That's a big S3. That's all it is.
We're going to circle back to this in listener mail because you're making a good point, Joe. And with those updates to software on the Galaxy S3, that really does dilute the difference between these two.
As it should. That's exactly what Samsung's trying to do. But give me something different. Even if they screw it up, give me something different so I can see how they're screwing it up, and then we can learn from those mistakes and go forward. I don't know that LG's screwing it up. I just want to see something different because I don't need to have a Note 2 because I had a Galaxy S3 for a few months. I know what it is. I know exactly what it is without the S Pen, which I am a fan of the stylus, by the way.
So, yeah.
Now,
while we're talking about the S Pen, Taylor, I will ask you something specific.
Yes.
I mean, you touched on it a little bit in the video, but I feel like the S Pen is a big value add of the Galaxy Note 2 when compared to this LG competitor.
it is. It definitely is. You don't have an S Pen, or you don't have an S Pen. You don't have a stylus on the LG Optimus G Pro. It's just you get a large antenna.
Which is
only useful for television in Korea. So there are rumors that the international version and the US version will have a stylus in lieu of the large antenna. But
are there?
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
Interesting.
But while I'm reviewing this thing, I am totally going to pull out the antenna before I place calls in public. Because it's like, it is literally like a foot long.
Will you please do that in the coffee shop that you routinely work from? Will you just have fake phone calls with the antenna up?
Okay, so I've got two observations on that.
Yeah.
First of all, I have a couple different styluses, however you pronounce that.
Styluses, yes, that's it.
Yes, styluses. You can use a stylus on the LG. Not a problem. It's just Samsung has built in so much extra stuff to take advantage and to really make use of that stylus, of their stylus, that just saying I can buy a stylus for my device doesn't do it justice. So Samsung is getting it right there.
It's a totally different stylus. The S Pen is inductive. And that gives you a lot more capabilities. When you're using it like to write handwriting or draw or anything, it cuts off capacitive input. Right. So you don't get like these marks from your hand and marks from the stylus. Right. Because a normal stylus is just capacitive. It's an extension of your finger.
Not to mention the digitizer from Wacom. Yeah, go ahead, John.
Yeah, the apps and the user interface additions. Exactly. It's that ecosystem. That's the best way to put it, Michael, that we're talking about. That's not there on really anything else right now. Samsung's got the market, and that's fabulous. Moving over to that antenna, most people don't know that the majority, well, I'm not going to say the majority, a good deal of GPS receivers have FM receivers built into them. And as long as you've got headphones plugged in, you can listen to the radio. Because that antenna that you need for the radio is the headphones. That wire is your antenna. Why they didn't do something like that for this LG we're talking about, I have no idea. I mean,
wait, are you saying you want a terrestrial radio antenna for the LG phablet?
No, I'm saying the opposite of that. I want to have a TV tuner that uses my headphone jack and a headphone plugged into it as the antenna, so I don't look stupid with a big honking foot-long antenna sticking out the top. Now, I know that there's probably somebody out there who's much smarter than I am who's going to say, well, you can't have that because it's the propagation of the radio waves and the signals for TV requires a broadband.
Half radials of the megahertz the wave subspace propagation jello.
All of a sudden, I need some chocolate pudding. But that notwithstanding, that's what I would expect to see here, and really, that's kind of cool as long as you've got the right bands to be able to watch it in the right places. Now, of course, this is a Korean phone, so it makes sense that it's got the Korean TV stuff in it, but bring it stateside and let us watch, digital TV here. That'd be cool.
Yeah, that would be cool. But the reason I kind of gave the Optimus G Pro leg up on the Note 2 is in at least form factor and design, is because it's so much narrower. It's only 4.4 millimeters, but it makes a difference when you're holding the device. This feels more like the Droid DNA than in size than the Note 2. It's just a lot smaller, but it's the same thickness, but it's just narrower and it's easier to hold with one hand. So that's one reason I gave it, kind of a +1 in design.
Okay.
It looks like a truer 16:9 letterbox layout.
Yeah, there's very little bezel on the sides. Very little. Less than half on each side than what the Note 2 has. The downside to this hardware is, like, LG just does not do buttons well at all. I'm going to click this. You might be able to hear it.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's mushy, but it clicks and it's hollow sounding. It feels like, okay, the only way I can really explain this is, say you get like a McDonald's toy with your Happy Meal, and it has like a push button that lights something up, like a click, and it just, I don't know, it feels like a hollow, like mushy, like hollow toy click.
I will say this. I think that there are a few things more annoying than bad physical response on a hardware button, but I will put up with it if that physical button also includes a built-in LED.
Yeah, and that's one thing this button does.
Right. And
it has a sweet multicolored LED below it, and
lights
it
up
lights
the whole
up
button, right?
Lights up the whole button. Well, the outside
like
of
the
it,
rim of the button. Yeah, and then, can you use LightFlow to control that, or have you not tried that yet?
They've got built-in settings for control.
What is it? Is it like 5-color or what? It can.
I've got this. Let's see. I got it right
does
here.
Does it do besides red and green? And so I guess that's what I want to ask.
Yeah, it does.
Does it do besides red and green? That was an awesome sentence.
Does it do besides red and green? Yellow, blue, white, green, red.
Awesome.
I mean, I think it's pretty much everything.
I would buy that phone just for that. I love LEDs. I love status lights.
Yeah, that button is sweet. Software, it's pretty bad. It's heavy and very customized. The settings page, the settings app is tabulated.
Yeah,
it's tabbed.
It's tabbed. Yeah, that's how they do it.
Gosh.
But the responsiveness has got to be amazing, though. I mean,
the screen, I swear it picks up my finger before I touch it.
Oh, it might, because the Lumia 920 does that.
Yeah, I don't touch it sometimes, and it selects things. So
can you adjust the screen sensitivity or no?
I don't know. I haven't been able to look that up yet.
So did they fix the problem that some people have reported with the Nexus 4 where you touch the screen and it's off by a dozen pixels or so?
Ooh.
I haven't had that problem on mine.
I've only run into it very, very infrequently, and usually when playing Ingress. But some people note it more than others, not to mention any names, Brandon. But
I wish Brandon was on the podcast.
Yeah, nothing on here for adjusting sensitivity.
Okay. Well, we do have to move on from this at some point. So I want to say that we do have a review coming from you on this, but not until next week. Is that correct?
Oh, that's pending. I don't know when, but yes.
Actually, yeah, I might not. I don't want to pin you down to next week. Not until later.
It's going to be Monday in the morning, and everyone can set their watches.
I think there will be something Monday in the morning, maybe. I don't know. It's not going to be this, though.
It won't be Monday morning. It'll be Tuesday.
Oh, well, no, there will also be something Monday. Yeah, it's going to be
like articles and stuff.
Not from you, Taylor. Yeah, there's going to be some. It's going to be a very busy week next week.
Not from you. Back in your cage.
Yeah, get you. No, go ahead.
I was just going to say last thing. Performance-wise and synthetic benchmarks, the Optimus G Pro blows the Note 2 out of the water. But in side-by-side performance, they are neck and neck. So there's that.
Really?
We've hit our plateau, gentlemen.
Yes.
Yep.
Welcome to the post-benchmark era.
It hit 20,000 in Antutu and 12,000 in Quadrant Standard.
Wow. Did you run Geekbench on it, or?
I haven't ran all of them. I just kind of did, a couple for the comparison. The Note 2 got 6,000 in Quadrant Standard, so half that of the Optimus G Pro. And Antutu, I think it got like 15 or 16,000. So it's a big difference in benchmarks, but in day-to-day performance, you don't see any sort of difference whatsoever. Neither of them lag.
I have recently found a game that makes me care about benchmarks all of a sudden because it is very graphically intensive. It's called like Sky Defenders. It's only for iOS. It's an aerial combat game, and it's amazing.
Sky Gamblers.
Sky Gamblers. That's what it is. Wait,
Yes,
do you play it?
Sky Gamblers.
Taylor, you play it?
I have, yes.
Oh man, let's play because it allows multiplayer. It's like the most in-depth iPad-based or iOS-based flight simulator I've ever seen.
You can play it from your MacBook, too.
What, are you serious?
Yep.
Wait, hold on. Can you plug in a USB joystick and play it?
I don't know.
Oh my God!
I imagine
If that is the case, you will not see me again. I will just like recede into my game cave, which I don't even have, but I will build a game cave.
He will make a game cave.
If I can use a joystick with a flight simulator, oh my God! All right, listen, we got to talk about that. Oh my God! All right.
So thanks for joining us for the podcast. Michael's going to go off and play some gamble whatever.
It's been really nice talking to all of you. Joe, you got the show. Let's talk about Android Trojans, please, because I do want to have you talk for a second, Joe, because Joe wrote a piece which was really cool and really aptly titled called "What You Need to Know About Android Trojans," and it wasn't until just now that I thought of the concept of an Android Trojan horse, which would be really interesting, and not like computer code, but like an actual robot horse. But I want to know about this because I have been running naked on all my Android devices for a long time. I don't use a virus scan or anything like that, and I find a lot to be suspicious about in terms of those security programs that often come pre-installed on Android devices from carriers and blah 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 blah. And I want to know how much danger you think I'm in, Joe, and I want you to talk about your piece. And I want you to talk about how you got an animated graphic in the middle of your piece, which is pretty cool.
Well, so to answer that one really quick, that's called a GIF. Some people pronounce it GIF, and you can animate those.
Oh.
And it's huge. It's just an animated...
So it's like a bitmap then?
Yes, but it moves.
Oh.
Do you know what movie that came from, by the way?
What, the Too Many Secrets?
The C-Tech Astronomy, Too Many Secrets, Cooties Rat.
No, but I love that you're like throwing in random jokes that nobody gets, like I do.
This is a Robert Redford movie. How can you not know it?
I don't think I've ever seen a Robert Redford film in my life.
Oh my goodness!
I know, right?
He owns a city here in Utah, so I guess I have to know him. So, yes, Sundance, Utah, folks. If you've never been there, it's a beautiful place.
What's the name of the movie?
This is Sneakers, where they are. Now you know.
I've heard of Sneakers. I haven't seen it. I'm so bad at pop culture.
So they're trying to figure out what this C-Tech Astronomy means, and they get the, what is that, Scrabble letters out, and they're rearranging it out. And they have the Cooties Rat something else. We want to keep this PG, so we won't go there. And Too Many Secrets is what it turns out to be.
That's
but
awesome.
Anyway, obscure movie references aside,
yes.
Back on point. Yes, there are viruses. Yes, there are Trojans. Yes, there's malware, adware, ransomware, all kinds of stuff that exists everywhere, including Windows Phone and iOS, and yes, even Android. We are not alone. And the article kind of goes into that a little bit. It goes into some ways that what a Trojan horse is, including history. We talk about the Trojan War, the Greek and Trojan War. It's the first time I've ever written about that outside of like junior high. So that was fun. But very, very short. Trojan horses are, when we're talking computers, all the way back to the very early days of computers, it's basically a program that you invite into your environment, your operating system, whatever it may be, whether that's through a document, a disk, a USB drive, a program, whatever it may be, that has an unintended payload, and that payload can do any number of things. It gets kind of confusing when you're talking about computer malware. That's kind of the generic term these days, or in law, they are calling that a computer contaminant now.
Whoa.
That
This might be the first podcast where
Decontaminant.
we've ever had the words payload and contaminant on the air. That was awesome. Let's talk about space.
and subspace distortions.
Yes, facial distortions.
Yeah, facial distortions. But essentially, what happens is there's something inside this program that you think you want that does something that you didn't really want. Today, that usually is stealing information and reporting it back to a third party over the internet, because we're always connected today, which we weren't in the past, or making text messages to premium services using your number, which costs you lots of money very fast. And probably the most insidious one is being able to steal enough information from the hardware of your device to clone your SIM and then intercept your text messages, your MMS, make phone calls as if it were you, just anywhere in the world, which can then, of course, incur some significant costs in international roaming and whatnot. So, not good. The article goes into how you can protect yourself. That's number one. That's probably the most important thing to do, but also some things that Google is trying to do that their competitors aren't, and how the fact that apps that are in Google's Play Store that aren't quote-unquote reviewed before they're submitted and added to the catalog aren't a problem. I mean, that's not a big deal. Most people think that the review process for both Windows Phone and iOS apps will cover them and will make sure that all of the apps are nice and clean and aren't doing anything that they shouldn't be doing. That's not the case at all.
Bit of a false sense of security.
It is. It is exactly a false sense of security. They're not doing a code review at all. They're doing a does this fit within our style guidelines review? Is this causing undue taxes on the processor, on the RAM by slowing things down? And is this doing
nudity?
And most importantly, is this doing anything that we should be getting money for, like being able to buy stuff inside the app? So they're protecting them, not you, when they're doing it. To your point,
sorry, you're saying that whenever I ignore these permissions, and I'm just want to install an app real quick, and it's like, this app has the following permissions, and I'm like, yeah, whatever.
Right.
I'm putting myself in danger.
Yes.
Yeah.
In fact, I'm not aware that the Windows Phone or iOS does that. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong here, guys. Do they expose what permissions that app needs to be able to run?
Not on Windows Phone, as far as I am recalling. I don't have my Lumia next to me, so I can't confirm that right now. But I've never been presented with a permissions list, I don't think.
Yeah, I don't think iOS does either.
So something Android does that the other guys either don't do or don't do well enough because nobody knows about it is they tell you every single thing that app is getting permissions to. And who gives them the permissions? The person who's installing it. If you don't like it, if you are hesitant about it, don't install it.
Keep talking. I'm going to get my Lumia. Keep talking, guys, because I'm going to figure this out. I'm not going to incur the wrath of the Windows community again in the comments. Hold on.
I thought I had fallen victim to some sort of hack or something at one point. It was a few weeks ago. Everyone who was calling me was getting answers from some other random guy across the United States. I don't know where he lived, but when they called me, he was answering. And if I would send a text message, when they replied, he would text them back. And it took me forever. They were getting random stuff from this guy, and I had no idea who he was. And if I texted him or anything, all the text just came to me. He wouldn't answer. And I'm just thinking, what in the world? Like, how is this possible? And it took me months to figure out that I had actually logged into Google Voice from a review device and somehow added that number to my account. So all of my text messages and calls were being forwarded to his number, which was a recycled PR number.
Yes, I've had that as well, except I was on the opposite end of that. Someone else had that review number before I had, and so I was getting all of their stuff. I may have been that guy. So it was awkward. I was getting this lady's kids trying to get a hold of her for whatever else. She was like a mommy blogger. So I was able to track her down and actually call her, have a nice conversation with her. Here's this strange guy calling out of the blue from many states away, and we just had a nice little conversation. It was kind of fun.
Okay.
But Michael's
recycled
back.
Recycled numbers are a terrible, terrible thing.
Yeah, and there's really no way around that until we get to the
post phone number world.
Well, not even that, but if we can get to a personal phone number, and that's why I think Google Voice, going way off topic here, Google Voice is a very good thing just for that, because I have complete control over that number until Google says I don't. And it's one number. If I change to a different provider, if I move to a different country, I just update my Google Voice and it's done. Nobody needs to know.
Using Google Voice since 2009, and you are absolutely right about that. It is very convenient, as long as you don't want to get picture messages, but that is even further off topic.
That's what email's for, and you can do that if they're being sent to or from Sprint.
No. It is technically possible. It is, in practice, completely unreliable. I routinely get picture messages like 2 weeks later. I get anyway. Let's not talk about Google Voice.
Pictures aren't timely.
When you are on right. First of all, I've just realized that my SIM tray is out of my Lumia, which is annoying. I should go find that.
That would be a good thing.
Yeah.
You lose that, and you're kind of out of luck.
I'm screwed. So I have found the Windows Phone Store on my device. I have loaded an app called TOS Com, which is pretty cool. Looks like a Star Trek communicator for Windows Phone. You should look at my communicator review.
That was epic, by the way.
It was awesome.
Thank you. So on the details screen, we have the size of the app, the rating, one screenshot, a small description from the dev. You can report a concern to Microsoft. You can learn the publisher, when it was last updated, the version number, and you can see more from that publisher. There are supported languages, English. Okay, and then right under that, it says requires data services, movement, and directional sensor. So I guess it does tell you to a degree. It doesn't break it down like Android does in a bulleted list of like what the app can do. It just has a small little line of text there that just requires. It probably should be called out a little bit more, because I was all ready to say it doesn't say that at all. But yeah, it's.
Well, yeah, and
I'm looking at iOS now.
That underscores the point. Even if it is there, if it's not
prominent,
if it's not advertised, as it were, and it doesn't do anything
this is
for
what
you.
we were talking about before with regard to the modern design language. Like, it's beautiful, and I love it, and it's minimalistic, and that's all the reasons I love it. But it also is not terribly conducive to getting you information quickly.
Yes,
because the minute you bold something or italicize something or whatever, you're basically, a lot of the time, you're breaking the rules of that design language, because it looks worse. But it also looks different, and that's what your eyeball is drawn to.
On iOS, the only thing even remotely similar to that, you get requires, and then it tells you system requirements, and that's it. There's nothing that tells you what it needs control of.
Interesting.
So to contrast that, for Android, when you're looking at something in the Play Store, you're not told when you're looking at the app what it requires. So you have to instead download it, and as soon as it's downloaded and on your machine, not installed yet, it will then tell you what permissions you need to grant that app before you install it. Sometimes people just overlook it, but the newer versions of Jelly Bean, and I forget if it was in original Jelly Bean or Jelly Bean The Revenge, but they're now exposing that even more to let you know which ones could cost you money. So if it has permission to send text messages, it'll tell you that. And you then, as an end user, decide whether or not you want to install it. So going to my article and the section, how can you stay safe, Michael, read the permissions. Look at them. That is what you are telling it. Oh, no, it's okay if you do that. So really, if you get a cell phone bill for $1,000 because you didn't read the permissions, if I'm working for that carrier, I'm going to tell you, too bad, you said that it could do that. You should have known better. This is your learning cost. You go to college, you pay for a course in college, it's going to cost you a lot of money. Well, here's your education. It just cost you $1,000.
Right.
And that's probably taking too hard of a stance, but you said it was okay. Be aware
Words
of
coming
it.
from a father. You can definitely tell that.
Who I've actually been on the other side of that conversation and had a kid buy $200 worth of stuff for his virtual aquarium before. So, put a pin on if you're going to let your kids borrow your devices. Anyway, next is check the reviews. So before you download it, while you're looking at it, saying, "Hey, that's a really cool looking app." What do other people say about it? How many stars do they have?
Absolutely, do that.
If you've got people saying this is bad, it does icky stuff, you probably don't want to install it. And then avoid shady apps altogether. And
that's sort of self-explanatory. Like, you have to have a certain degree of what's the word? Not panache, but like world sensitive of street smarts. You need to be able to look at an app icon and be like, that is either ripped off or it's lame or why is this a pixelated version of what it should be? Yeah. Shady apps are pretty easy to spot if you're not recklessly.
Why is this Facebook app red?
Right.
Yeah. And even that, that's kind of a clone of an app or a fake app or whatever you want to call it. In fact, I talked about one of those called fake Netflix. I don't know.
Oh, nice.
A malicious copy of the Netflix app that was just used to steal your Netflix account information. I don't know. So the thieves could watch sneakers, I guess. I don't know if that's available for streaming or not. But anyway, the shady apps that I'm talking about is, hey, you want to be able to break into your neighbor's Wi-Fi. So you're going out trying to find a Wi-Fi network hacker or whatnot. Yeah. First of all, that's not going to be in the market very long. You're going to have to get it elsewhere. But the same permission screen that you get from apps installed from the market, you're going to get from apps installed from a third-party market or side-loaded on your device as well. One major advantage to Android there. But I go into it, and I'm just going to read this. It's very short. There's no such thing as a free lunch, and an app that seems too good to be true probably is. Apps that imply they can enable you to do illegal, immoral, or unethical things should be avoided. Not because of the type of activity that they allegedly enable. After all, who am I to step on your values or your belief systems? But because the quote-unquote bad guys often prey on the type of user that installs this sort of software by including malicious code in them.
That's right. Do not be a dirtbag because you will get dirtbags taking advantage of you.
Exactly. So that goes back to our pre-podcast conversation, Michael. That's my libertarian views. Who am I to step on your values or belief systems? Just be aware. Those kind of people might put in something that you don't want in there. So just be smart.
Like the Wi-Fi kill app.
Yeah.
I'm so skeptical of that thing.
To close this out, do I need a virus scanner on my phone, Joe?
Long story short, no.
Great.
So there you go. Now, to expand on that, most virus scanners include stuff that will give you a heads up about weird stuff that's happening. Lookout is one of my favorite. I'm not supporting or endorsing them, but I have it installed on all of my devices. It lets me find my devices when they're lost. It lets me send out a signal flare when the battery's running dead, so it can tell me the last place that I was before I died was here. Come find me.
Oh, that's cool.
It'll take pictures of whoever's trying to unlock your device and email them to you so you can know. Or maybe it doesn't email them, maybe it just records them. But yeah, so if you've got somebody trying to hack into your device, whether it's a kid or whether it's a roommate or some guy at a bar, you'll have pictures taken of them so you'll know who it is, and then you can turn them into authorities that aren't stored on device. They're sent off the device. So all kinds of cool. One thing that one thing that Lookout does that others don't is they will monitor phone calls from apps and from websites and let you send them through instead of the dialer. It'll let you send them through Lookout to make sure that that number isn't on their list of known malicious numbers, and it will allow you to intercept them before it goes to the dialer app itself. So neat features and functionalities there.
Yeah, Lookout, is a cool app.
It's great. Now that one is free. And remember what I just said about a free app? There's no such
thing as a free lunch.
Exactly. This one is freemium, meaning they give you the base set for free, but then there are additional features and functionalities that you can enable through purchasing a subscription. So, and whether or not you want to do that is up to you. I haven't. The base version does everything that I need it to.
I got some advice at my college graduation party from a family friend who's this kind of older guy who's really cool, but he was trying to give me some advice. He was like, now remember, You know, you're grown up now. There's no more free lunch. Not that you were getting a free lunch, but well, you know what I mean. It's like, yes, I think I know I don't, but thank you.
I get that. Just because I don't want to hear you try and explain it anymore.
Right. Anyway, let's move on a little bit. Joe, I love it when you write pieces like that. I think frequently we users have very straightforward questions that are like, how afraid should I be to do this? And your instructive articles help us answer those questions, so thank you.
I'm glad. If I help just one person not get infected, then my job is done.
Well, then your job is done. We'll see you. We'll see you next year.
All right.
I want to say briefly that there's been an HTC One spotted with a removable back cover and micro SD support.
Woohoo!
Oh my god. That is for China. So
Is that Klingon food?
Yeah. Oh my grubworms. Yeah, this is a little bit like you get really amped on this, and then you look at the picture of it, and you're like, oh wait, the battery is still integrated, so this is only half cool. But the micro SD support is the important part. The other important part is dual SIM support, which leads to the third important part, which I already said. This is for China. So if you're in China, get excited. If you're not, sad face.
And salivate over your Chinese friends.
Exactly. Yeah, but you know what? It doesn't matter. I know we're not going to talk too much about the One right now, but I want to say that in my time with the One, I have found the lack of a removable battery to be acceptable. Micro SD is a little bit harder of a pill to swallow, but yeah,
32 gigabytes.
32 gigawatts. Yeah,
No.
It's enough for me.
This is running Android? Yes?
No, it's an iOS device.
No. Well, HTC has some ones or, I don't know, some numbers that run Windows Phone. So, and this kind of has the Windows Phone-y look to it. So
right.
I'm wondering, the article doesn't really... I assume it's Android because I don't think you can add supplemental storage to Windows.
I'm sorry, Joe. I didn't mean it. I thought you were talking about the One. I thought you were talking about the HTC One is an Android phone. Yes, it's an Android phone.
No, the one 802W.
802W, yes. I'm sorry.
The W kind of implies Windows. I don't know. Or maybe it implies WCDMA.
That's a good question.
I'm not seeing anything in the article. I would assume that this is an Android-powered device just because of the supplemental storage. But yeah.
Plus it is like an HTC One. Like, I mean, there's the noise canceling mic. There's the hardware is identical. So it's I think that W is for WCDMA. But that's a cool piece of speculation you had there. For a second.
A guy can hope, right? Removable storage on any OS is a good thing.
If that were a Windows phone, wow. HTC One with Windows Phone. New,
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm just getting confused between HTC and a bunch of numbers at the end. I don't know.
No. You were absolutely
the first,
right.
The premium, the initial.
Like I say, I didn't know. I should have even said the number when I announced it. 802W. Yeah. Good thinking there, Joe.
Yeah.
Can we break from years of QWERTY typing? I don't know. Does Taylor Martin know?
Using 8-pin in its current form, no.
Taylor, I watched your video two nights ago. Listeners, if you haven't watched this video, you owe it to yourself to watch this weird experiment. 8-pin is the weirdest keyboard I've ever seen in my life, and using it, normally you see something like that and you're like, wow, that's got to be so intuitive. Like, no one would ever use that, so it's got to be so good. But, like, watching you write the letter A by, like, moving your finger in a convoluted looping pattern crossing 3 sectors of that keyboard, I was like, forget it, I'm done. Never again. What's going on with this?
Okay.
You're relieved to be done, yes?
What?
You're relieved to be done. You used this for, what, a week?
Yeah, about a week and a half. It was done. I had decided to do it after making a video about Android keyboards. Mm-hmm. And I wasn't new to this keyboard. I'd used it before, but they changed the layout, and it's actually not so bad now. Now, typing long words and long sentences, long paragraphs are kind of annoying, but it's not so bad.
It's annoying, but not that annoying.
You have to learn the layout. That's the hard part. You have to learn where every letter is, and having to do that is like, I don't know, pulling teeth for some people. But I sat down and I learned the layout within a few hours. And there are some letters that you don't use often. Those I would stumble on still, even now. But after you figure it out, you can kind of just loop your finger around and you type pretty quickly. It's hard to do it on this video because, one, I didn't know what I was typing, and two, reaching around a camera or reaching over and up over a table. So it was a little awkward to shoot the video. I struggled with it. But there's a science behind it. And the guys who created 8-Pin, they said, basically, if you give someone a sheet of paper, a small square, and say, draw a continuous line, most people will make figure eights, and it all comes back to the center, which is the reason that there's a circle in the middle. They said that's a hot spot where people will always come back, and then you have loops stemming from that circle in every direction.
Okay.
They said the most natural way to write anything is with a pen and paper, and you can't really do that. So if you were given a pen and paper about the size of where you would be writing on a smartphone and told to draw a continuous line, that's basically what you come up with. And the old layout was it was just straight through the alphabet, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, all the way around. And doing that, you would end up having to stop and go backwards. It was like using a rotary dial phone. People keep saying that about this one, and it's not so much the same. It's learning different loops. So the A is you come out from the middle to the right, go up, cross a line, come back to the middle. And once you think about it as, I need to cross 2 lines, 3 lines, and then you memorize all these loops, it gets to be pretty easy to use. I got to the point where I could type with one thumb and not look. And I could type
really?
That's impressive.
Yeah, that is impressive.
Yeah. Now, granted, that was after a week of just me using this, and I had to really, really try and learn it. But that was kind of the point. We've all used QWERTY keyboards from birth. Every single one of us. Every keyboard now, the QWERTY, the Quartz, all of those are based on typewriters, which are from the 1860, I believe.
Yeah.
I think I looked it up. So it's an old technology, and I still have a hard time believing that nothing could be better than something that was designed in 1860.
Okay, I have to stop right there and throw in some completely random but relevant information.
Yeah.
The QWERTY layout that we use today, that we've used for the last 100+ years, was not the initial layout on typewriters.
Yeah.
The initial layout was closer to what we now know as Dvorak. I've heard people say that it was Dvorak. I've heard people say that it was similar to Dvorak, so go do your own research on that to find out. A lot of research went into that initial keyboard layout to find out what would be the most efficient layout so that you could type words quickly. Right. And it was so unusual and so new of a concept to be able to push buttons to make text appear on a page that it took a while for people to get really fast at it. But eventually people did, especially the office workers who were predominantly female. They got so fast at typing on these typewriters of the day that they were faster than the mechanical mechanisms inside them.
Oh, right.
And they'd cause all the keys to jam up and all kinds of stuff. And they'd have to stop, have downtime while they brought somebody out to fix it and put the keys and all the mechanisms back in place. So the QWERTY layout was designed, and all the keys were relayed out to deliberately slow down these people by making the layout of the keys inefficient so that they wouldn't break past the speed at which the mechanism could actually work to fire that letter onto the page. Fast forward to today, we don't have that problem anymore, but we're still using that known and proven inefficient layout for all of our typing. If we were to go back to a more efficient layout like Dvorak or like whatever they had in the olden days, we'd be significantly faster at typing, but we don't use that. And it's interesting to me that we don't have that even on our smartphones.
Yeah, we would have to relearn it. That's the thing. We'd have to relearn it. And
that's what you're doing here.
Problem. That's what I was trying to do, is to get out of the concept or the mindset of typing on a QWERTY keyboard. And I'm not saying that QWERTY was designed way back then in the 1860s or whatever. That's not what I was saying. I'm talking about, the alphabet on a square pattern that you have to, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
The actual keys on
On a plane.
board. Keys on a board. Yeah, I mean.
Yeah.
But the point was, can we type on something that is not the standard, typical, traditional layout? And it was tough. There was a really steep learning curve, but, I could use 8-pin and not pull my hair out after a week. So I knew it was going to be crazy, and most people probably wouldn't get the whole gist of it. Why would he even care? But I kind of wanted to do it to give 8-pin a chance. Talked to the CEO, and he said there's a big update coming out. And two things that this keyboard would need for me to actually want to use it full time is prediction software like you have in Swipe or SwiftKey or even the stock Android keyboard.
Stock keyboard, yep.
And a shift key. There is no shift key.
So you can't capitalize stuff?
You have to make an entire loop around the keyboard and then pick your letter.
Oh, boy. Yeah.
To shift.
That ain't too fun.
No. So for, if I wanted to type, I don't know, in all caps, every letter you have to make a loop around the keyboard and then pick your letter. So if you wanted to type a W, I had to make 2 loops around the keyboard to type a W.
For one letter.
One letter. I'm like, no, this is,
There's
not
some inefficiencies that,
Yeah. But if you had word prediction in there, you would type 1 or 2 letters and
it would go.
Be able to, yeah. And that's how I type with SwiftKey. I type 1 or 2 letters and it generally picks my next word for me.
You kids and your SwiftKey. I like my old crusty inefficient stock keyboard.
But yeah, the idea is not for me to say, hey, will 8-pin be the keyboard of the future?
No.
Do I think so? Probably not. But the fact that these guys are thinking outside the box is what drew me to the keyboard in the first place. It's impressive, and the science behind it, the read about the science behind it, if you go to their website, is bizarre. It's crazy. It's It's 8pin.com.
8-pin. Number 8. P-E-N or P-I-N?
In Utah, we pronounce it pen.
Yeah, I know. I've got a lot of flack over that.
No. We live in different parts. Tony would pronounce it differently because he lives way over there.
Yeah.
So 8-pen is how we pronounce it.
In Super Carolina, P-E-N and P-I-N are pronounced exactly the same.
Exactly the same.
Dude, you got to get that 8-pen there, huh?
Yeah. But there are a couple other keyboards, and some people in the comments brought some out to me, and I may do another one of these experiments with different keyboards. One I will most definitely do is Minium. It's not out yet. It's they're seeking backing on Indiegogo, and they've already exceeded their goal.
Nice.
It shrinks the QWERTY layout into a single line.
That's the one I told you about.
Yeah, Minium, and you don't have to be accurate. You just kind of tap around the letter you want, and it'll
figure out what you want.
Yeah. And then there's another called Snap Keys, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we've all... Snap Keys is the really well-known one.
Yeah, and I tried to type on that for a few minutes and wanted to punch myself in the face.
Is that who BlackBerry partnered with to make their keyboard?
I don't know.
But no, because they did. They partnered with a keyboard maker to make their new software keyboard. No, I'm probably asking a stupid question. It's probably somebody else. I can't look it up right now. We are really short on time.
Yeah, and the last one is Message Ease, which I used that in the past, and it's okay. But yeah, I plan on keeping an eye on 8-pin and other keyboard makers.
We appreciate your sacrifice.
Yeah, and if you guys come across you guys meaning our audience, if you come across a keyboard that we haven't talked about or just got a major update, let us know. We love doing these kinds of experiments and putting ourselves through this pain so you don't have to.
Send that to Joe. Yeah. Joe at Pocketnow.
I was thinking Taylor in Super Carolina, but
maybe I'll use SwiftKey Tilt for a week next.
I want to use as Joe and I know on the starships of the 24th century, people can type entire phrases with just 8 keys that all have numbers on them. So there's infinite diversity.
Man, the learning curve for that keyboard is amazing.
Yeah.
I find, just while we're on this, I find myself using the Google Voice keyboard more than almost anything.
You're talking
these
about the
days.
voice-to-text dictation?
Yeah, so
me
I
too.
I hit that microphone button on my keyboard and I just dictated out, and
Awesome.
it's right 9 out of 10 times.
Oh,
especially once you
hooray!
have that on,
Exclamation point. I've been looking forward to getting lunch there, comma, but I've
Yeah.
never had the opportunity, period. Smiley face. Yeah.
Yeah, Michael and I both did a week-long challenge.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, I was at Phone Dog, and I did a week-long challenge where I used nothing but dictation on all of my phones.
Yeah. I think I did it over a weekend. I think you had me beat on the duration of that one.
And the timing.
No, I did it for a week. And the time. Shut up. All right, listen. Let's Apple. Let's talk about really quickly. iOS 7 is running late. Is the rumor? Apple is using, and there's another rumor in the same article from Jaime from yesterday. Apple's using OS 10.9 developers to speed it. This is not unprecedented. Apple has cannibalized from itself before to get OS out the door. Specifically, the first time they released the iPhone in 2007. I wouldn't be surprised if everything we're hearing about iOS 7 is the truth, that it is a kind of a different animal. I wouldn't be surprised that Apple was kind of, cannibalizing internal resources to get it done. And a commenter has a really prescient thing and says, this supports my long-held theory that Apple, no longer cares about OS 10. I wouldn't go that far, but I think that the future of Apple is definitely more in iOS than OS 10. What do you guys think? You think this is likely to be true or what?
Well, wasn't there another rumor saying that the production was scheduled to start this summer or before the summer? Like in the next month or so for the next devices?
Hardware production?
Yeah.
Yeah, probably. Was it part of that Steve Jobs article that the iPhone's DNA is still... Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, this particular thing, the software, makes all the sense in the world to me.
Yeah, they need something major. They really do.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope that this is indication that they're doing something major.
Yeah.
I'm not holding my breath, though.
And the fact that it's allegedly delayed and they're pulling in resources from another development team, that lends to the theory that it's getting a major overhaul, and that overhaul they're going to invest more time in getting it right. So anybody who's upset that it's being delayed, don't. They're taking the time that they need. You're going to get a better product because of it. So keep that in mind. It's hard to be patient, but keep that in mind. The second thing with cannibalizing desktop OS developers to help them with their mobile OS, from me being a developer for my day job, that I think is a very, very good thing, because you get a fresh perspective. You get people who are coming from an entirely different user interface metaphor over into this very mobile centric thing, and a lot of their bias and prejudice is going to come along with them, which means we're going to potentially have more abilities for our mobile devices to act like, to behave like, to mimic desktop and laptop type functionality.
Yeah.
So it's a two-edged sword, because they could screw everything up that they've already established and done right in mobile, but on the other side they could push this mobile OS out of the mobile ecosystem into more of desktop stuff, and open that up to some of the desktop apps that haven't made it over to iOS yet, to make them easier to run and to use on mobile devices. And once we get up to iPad size, come on, that's a tablet without a keyboard. So,
right.
Or a laptop without a keyboard. So
it's funny.
It makes sense.
It's funny, we condemn Windows for potentially making a Windows 8 phone, totally converging mobile and PC, but yet that's what we ask for in iOS.
Well, I don't know. It's kind of a sloppy parallel, right?
The point's well made, but Apple is kind of doing this from the let's take iOS and make it our omnipresent operating system. Let's make it do everything. Whereas Microsoft is kind of approaching it the other way. They're saying, let's take the mobile UI and put it on everything, but take the desktop OS and eventually get that down to everything. So they're approaching it from both sides, and it is sloppy. There's sloppy. Lots of weird stuff going on, and it's not consistent between the three, and it's some would argue, nor should it be. But the way Apple is doing it, they're starting from one platform and they're building out, and Microsoft is starting from two and building in, and it's weird. That's the best way to put it. It's just the definition of weird.
I like that. I like that headline.
But it takes a lot of work to take all the shiny 3D effects off all the interface elements on iOS, apparently.
Yeah.
Because that's pretty much what I'm expecting.
I'm expecting that too. A flatter,
just a
cleaner
flat interface, and
no more wood, no more water. Skeuomorphism takes a backseat to computer type interface.
That's a good thing. That's a great thing.
I bet they introduce a dock, like a different dock paradigm too. Like a bit more of a desktop thing. I would really love the ability to, say, hover a finger or to perform a gesture that would reveal the dock on the home screen, like I do on OS X, where I just bring the mouse pointer down and the dock reveals itself.
All I'm thinking when I hear that is the WebOS launcher. Oh, God. I would love that.
Yeah. Now
you can get that. You can get that on Android, by the way.
Yeah. I know. I was just thinking about that last night, like when everyone started poaching WebOS features after the big collapse, and everyone's like, "You should be excited. You got cards on your HTC Android phones now." I'm like, "Yeah, it's not the same, dude."
No.
Okay,
Wave
so
launcher.
homework for all of our listeners out there.
The Wave launcher too. Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah. What? Go ahead, Joe.
So the name of the article that we're talking about is iOS 7 running late, Apple using OS 10.9 developers to speed it by Jaime, published this morning. Is that right?
No, April 3rd.
Yesterday morning. So your homework is to go out to that article. It's still relevant. It's got relatively few comments on it right now. What I want to hear from you, our listeners, is what could Apple do in iOS to bring in some of the gestures and some of the other things that we're seeing in Sailfish, in Ubuntu Phone, and whatnot? What should they do it, and how could they do it to make it uniquely Apple to expose whatever you think it should be, the dock or running apps or notifications, or what could they do to change it using gestures? That's your homework. Go.
Nice. Mr. Levi has spoken. I like it.
He's given us some parenting tips and now
and some homework from the classroom. I like it. Let's jump into listener mail so we can go. This is Robert Hansen has written to us with a really cool thing. Jumping back into Android very briefly with something we've talked about before. Hi everyone, he says. Recently read about the Samsung Galaxy Mega 5.8 and 6.3, and I do not know if I should laugh or cry. This is madness.
Both.
Not because I don't like big phones. I own a Note 2 myself, but because there's no clear distinction between Samsung devices anymore. They all have the same design and all have the same functionality. Why do you think Samsung is trying to fulfill everyone's wishes? Because this is just confusing and it's getting problematic. Do you think there's a strategy, or do you think Samsung is trying too hard? Yes, is my answer. Because I'm speechless, he says. Love your podcast. Look forward to listening to it every Thursday. Keep the good work. Regards, Robert. Robert, thank you for listening. This is a solid question. We have talked about the dilution of the Galaxy brand before. We talked about it a little earlier in the podcast. I will answer first very briefly, and I'll let you guys go to it. I think Samsung absolutely does have a strategy, but they are very, very concerned with uniformity across their Galaxy lineup, and we can see this in the forthcoming Note 8 and the Galaxy S3. All the Galaxy products, the Galaxy Note, they all look the same. I think Samsung sees this as an advantage because they are, for some reason, still thinking like they're a young, small company trying to break in, when in fact they are already dominating. So I cannot understand the strategy, but I think it does exist. I think it's also very boring and very confusing. So I agree with you, Robert. What do you guys think, Taylor?
I think it's kind of the mantra that if you throw enough things at the wall, something's going to stick,
Sure.
but on a higher level. If we throw 50 different phones at a wall, which ones are going to stick? And then they just keep producing those. This Galaxy Mega, will probably never see anything else from it again. If it comes out, if the 5.8 and 6.3 come out. Okay, so if 5.8 sticks and 6.3 doesn't, we'll see maybe a Galaxy Mega 5.8 too. But we won't see the 6.3 or something. I don't know. But it's kind of ridiculous. But I think they're implementing a kind of a more PC-centric mindset, laptops, where they make 14-inch, 15-inch, 16-inch, all these different ones just for everyone. I don't think it's necessary for devices so small, especially when you're talking about a 0.3-inch difference in screen size between the Galaxy Mega 5.8 and Galaxy Note 2.
5.5, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I think they want a competitor out there for every phone like there is. The 6.3 would be, I guess, 6.1 Mate would be its competitor.
Oh,
they want something
Mate,
out there. They want something out there to compete with every other device out there. They want to own the market. And I don't necessarily agree with it, but it's working for them. And hey, if I was making as much money as anyone who worked as an executive in Samsung, I would be doing the exact same thing. So, different perspective.
Your thoughts, Joe?
So the word in that email that stuck out to me was strategy. And I'm going to bias my response with my developer background again. I see Samsung rolling out a lot of different devices, but all of them are starting to have the same set of tools, utilities, user interfaces, and features that aren't on their competitor devices, whether that's the S Pen, whether that's their Smart Stay, and other stuff that they're doing with the camera. All of these things, it's a suite of functions and functionality that Samsung's using to differentiate their products. They're not ubiquitous across all of their product offering yet, but it is becoming so. Once they have thoroughly vetted out all of the features to find out what people like, what people don't, and then they can invest their time in the ones that people really want and kind of let the other ones just stagnate, at that point they will have made their own separate niche, their own separate branch of Android, that at that point they can start improving that core, and all they've got to do is write drivers and whatnot for new hardware that will then fit upon. And the different sizes, the different specifications could be their way of vetting out what the requirements are, what the system requirements are to run those features and functionalities properly, and how to scale them to different size screens, different resolutions and whatnot. So I'm thinking they've got kind of a cyanogen mod thing going on, where there is one core set of features that is cyanogen mod. And then all you need is this vendor overlay to support all kinds of different devices. As soon as a new feature is added or changed or updated or whatnot to the core, it gets pushed out to GitHub, and everybody can check it out and apply their vendor overlay, and bam, there's a new update for the device. It's fast, it's smooth, it's fluid, it's efficient. Samsung's not there yet, but something to give that philosophy. I mean, that to me makes sense. I don't know about you guys, but to me that makes sense. Something that gives that credence and credibility is Cyanogen himself works for Samsung.
Not anymore.
Okay. Worked for Samsung and maybe left some of that vision behind. Where did he go?
He quit a few weeks ago.
Really?
Oh, wow.
I just had two oh wow moments, because I never knew that the guy behind Cyanogen worked for Samsung, and I also never knew he quit.
Yep, Steve Kondik.
Really?
Yep. He's an amazing guy. If you ever get a chance to talk to him, I've only had like 2 minutes of conversation time with him, but wow, that guy, he's beyond words.
I think I got to install Cyanogen mod on a device more than once before I do that.
Well, and the nice thing is, it's if you're running Cyanogen mod 10.1 on any one device,
yeah,
you know exactly what it is, how it does, what the features and functionalities are on any other device running Cyanogen mod 10.1, regardless of manufacturer.
It's kind of like iOS.
Very much so, ironically. But imagine being able to do that across your entire product offering if you're Samsung.
Yeah.
So now everything is the same. It doesn't matter if you've got a mini Galaxy or a maxi Galaxy or a mega Galaxy. They're all the same. They just scale to take advantage of the real estate and what's on that device. And they don't have to cook up new versions of the entire ROM. All they got to do is cook up new versions of the top layer and new versions of the bottom layer, and then they can just intermix and intermingle and push updates much faster.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
I like it.
That's in theory. We haven't seen faster updates.
Yes. It enables that metaphor.
Right.
Whether or not they take advantage of it remains to be seen.
They probably don't even realize that right now. Just throwing things at a wall, man.
Hey, Samsung,
throwing things at a wall.
If you need a consultant, I think Brandon would be okay with me providing some consulting hours to you to help bootstrap that.
There it is. Boom. The offer's
$1 million.
Right on the
there.
air.
You got it.
On the table.
Very ears. We're pushing the longest podcast ever, so let's. I think we're going to close it out, and we all have to get to this Facebook event that all our listeners already know what the outcome was about. And by get to, I mean find it on the internet, because we're not flying to it. Before we jet out, can I ask you, Cho, your thoughts?
Just taking off from my article. Stay safe out there. There are bad guys around us. Make sure you're making good choices, keep your devices clean, and make sure that you keep all of your money in your account instead of going to some guy across the pond.
Love it. Taylor?
Instagram is still terrible, and I will always sneak that in, always.
Man, I keep forgetting to fire you from the show.
And everyone, have a great week. Have a great week, and stay tuned for more Optimus G Pro coverage.
Yes, stay tuned.
And other things coming from Michael and myself and everyone else.
Yeah, make sure and keep a close eye on us this week, of course, but next week especially. It's going to be very busy, and I'm tired just thinking about it.
The beginning of next week is going to be insane.
For now, though, as we have to go finish this week before we get to that week, that is going to do it for this episode of The Weekly. Find us on Twitter.com. Joe is at Joe Levi. Taylor is at CasperTech, CasperTek. And as always, you can find me at Captain Two Phones. You can also follow Pocketnow officially at Pocketnow on Twitter, as Pocketnow on Facebook and Google+. You can leave us a comment on iTunes or Xbox Music if you prefer, and we prefer it. And if you have a topic, question, or suggestion for the podcast, or you just want to say hello, do it. Email us, podcast@pocketnow.com. Thanks for listening. See you next week.
Goodbye.
I was usually we have the Joe like.
So
we'll see you later. Till next time.
awkward pause.
Bye bye.
Bye.
All right, I gotta get more coffee because I'm frickin'.
I'm running sans caffeine right now, so.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I know.
What are you, some kind of freak?
I'm sans food.
Me too?
Let's all get stuff in our faces.
Yeah, let's do.
All right, I'll talk to you
And
guys
before we
later
do, thank you, and remember, "Oh Carolina" by Shaggy. That's the theme for today.
Absolutely will. Sweet Caroline. Ba ba ba.
It wasn't me.
It was
All right, bye.
nice.